Greetings, Legionnaires. Just wanted to stop by for a few minutes here today and let you guys know about my preliminary thoughts of Red Dead Redemption 2. Now, this is a game that a lot of people have been waiting for, myself included, ever since the first game came out. And to give you a little bit of backstory, I did play the first one back in college, so that was a few years ago now. And yeah, I gotta say, I was pretty interested in this game, but I didn't really look into it too much. I just kind of wanted to wait, let it come out, and finally, kind of get my first exposure to it personally, as opposed to watching every video possible. I saw a few of them here and there, but I didn't follow it too much. Anyway, here we are. Red Dead Redemption 2 is finally out, and boy howdy, what a game. So, let's just dig right into it. There's a lot to talk about here, but I will try to keep it as brief as possible. So, Red Dead Redemption 2 is technically a prequel, believe it or not, to the first Red Dead Redemption. You play as Arthur Morgan in this gang, the Van der Linde gang, run by Dutch. Now, basically, you get to choose if you want to be a good guy or bad guy in some circumstances, but for the most part, you're kind of, you're still part of this gang. You are an outlaw, for lack of a better term. But the way you carry yourself and the way you interact with everybody, that could be a little bit different than what you might typically expect. So, basically, this game is massive. It is an open-world third-person shooter, is the best way to probably put it. But it does a lot of things differently than most games, and the thing that really kind of struck me right away, and that is a little bit maybe annoying or frustrating at first, but it is very much a simulation. So what do I mean by that? I mean that, for instance, if you want to loot a body, you don't just, press a button quick and you just get whatever is on that person. You have to manually loot them. It takes a few seconds. And if you want to kind of search a bunch of cupboards, you have to actually open each cupboard and look in there and take specific things out from them too. So at first it's a little oh, that's kind of weird, but you get used to it. It's not that big of a deal. And one of those things that I kind of think about, that I've always given criticism to Rockstar in the past, is about how it handles combat. Typically, it's just a dot that your person is always aiming perfectly, but something they do here, which is actually really interesting, that I really do appreciate and enjoy, is that the reticle starts as a circle, and that, as you stop moving around or slow down for a second, it turns into a dot, so you get to be much more accurate after a few seconds, and I really enjoy that sort of thing. And I do have the free aim on, so when you watch this stuff, you might think wow, he's kind of having problems with these gunfights, but I did turn it off because I thought, well, in multiplayer, I wasn't sure if it was going to be enabled. I think in Grand Theft Auto 5 Online, though, or Grand Theft Auto Online, they actually did have that auto aim, or kind of it would snap to it. So basically, when you're in cover, you can just kind of hit the left trigger and it will just kind of snap typically to an enemy without you having to aim so much. I kind of prefer to aim a little bit more. I was raised more on the Gears of War, style of cover-based shooters, so it was more free aim. It wasn't so much you just kind of pop up, aim on a person and shoot. So it really depends on how you want to play it. And I gotta say, I do like the gunplay here. I think it's a little bit better than it has been in the past. Of course, they are a little more limited in their armaments than they have been, in Grand Theft Auto, where you can have anything from a pistol to a rocket launcher. Here you have your revolvers, your repeaters, your shotguns, your sniper rifles, but beyond that, there isn't too much. You have your Molotov cocktails. You have a knife, which I really enjoy finishing off most of my fights with, tackling a dude and just slitting their throat. It's kind of gory, but I kind of like playing it that way. It's a little nuts. But the thing about this with your guns is that you can actually customize them to a level that I haven't really seen before in a game like this. So basically, you have the ability to not only kind of upgrade your guns, kind of make them have more accuracy or make them, do a little more damage or whatever it would be, but you can also get engravings on them. You can trick them out. You can kind of paint them in different ways. And then also you have to keep them clean. Now, this is part of that simulation aspect once again, because if you don't keep them clean, eventually they will become worn. And if they're worn, that means that their stats will forever be kind of sullied. So you got to keep an eye on that from time to time. Just look at your guns and make sure that they're all clean. So then you kind of oil them down or whatever, and then they're good to go. Which I kind of enjoy. I think that's really a cool aspect. So you find other guns in the world will be a worn, repeater, and it's not as good as the repeater you might have that you've been keeping in a nicer condition. But you can also get different holsters and things to prevent that weapon degradation, which is nice. And along with that weapon degradation, I was worried about the quote-unquote survival aspects of this game, because you have 3 main, cores that you have to worry about. You have like your health, you have your energy/stamina, and you have your Deadeye. Now, there are kind of like 3 little circles you're looking at all the time, and in the center of them, that will determine how quickly those things will regenerate. So if your heart is full and white, that means that, you'll be able to regenerate health pretty quickly outside of a combat situation. But when that's down in the red, that means you're going to have to go and sleep. Like with your energy, you're going to have to go sleep because your stuff is not going to come back. Because you'll also see there's like these little outlines to these circles. So you might see I'll have half health or 3/4 of a circle of health, but that's because I didn't start with a full circle in the first place. As you do things, as you're out in the world, you can kind of increase those. Your stamina will increase as you run more and jump more and do more things. So yeah, it seems a little bit annoying, and your horse is the same way. They have health and they've got energy, and you can, push them, past their limits, but if you push them too far, they'll, buck you off and stuff like that. But it's not that bad. It's not like an Ark Survival Evolved where you have to basically manage 20 different little health bars or little meters all the time. There's nothing quite like that, thankfully, which I appreciate. But kind of segueing into the horses here, they give you a horse in the beginning, and then you get to pick another horse, and I've kept with it. It's the Ardennes. I've named it Despair, or Desi. Despair after Death and Despair from Darksiders. So a little Darksiders 2 love there, because you guys know me. But I like sticking with my horse. I really enjoy staying with the one that I've chosen. I'll probably pick up another one eventually, or probably in the online it'll be something different, because other horses have different stats. They have different speeds, maneuvering, handling, stuff like that. But when you bond with your horse, because you got to take care of it, you got to brush it to make sure it's clean and happy, and it just makes it a more efficient creature. I think it allows it to, bond with you and, put up with you more, basically. So it will, deal with you when you're in a gunfight and shooting over its head, or you can make it rear up, or you can have it, they call it drifting, but it's kind of sidestepping, and you can kind of maneuver a little bit more efficiently, which is also really nice. And you do feel a connection with them. You kind of pat them, you can feed them oat cakes and apples and things, and it's really nice. And I gotta say, the designs or the look of these horses are just incredible. The realistic nature of the muscles in them, and even the eyes when they kind of rear back and stuff, it's unmatched in any game that I've ever seen. And that just goes into the immersive quality of the entire game. It's so easy to get sucked into this game, because when you look at the map, unlike maybe a more typical one would be like a Ubisoft map, where that's got 1,000 different little dots all over there for things to do. Go do this, go do that, do that. This is much more natural. You're walking around and someone will say, "Hey, I need help, I need help, I need help," and they're getting bound and gagged and dragged away, and you can either choose to help them, choose not to. You make those choices, and these little story moments pop up all the time, and they aren't big campaign pieces, they just happen. And that's really cool, because you never know what you're going to stumble across. Really, truly, for the first time in a game, have I really enjoyed just walking around, because stuff will just happen. A stick up will happen. You're like, oh crap. So you use your Deadeye, which is your kind of slow motion ability, which allows you to pause time, freeze time, and kind of get those perfect shots in. And it gets better as you use it throughout this campaign, because in the beginning you kind of use it and you can use just a little bit, and then eventually it'll paint targets for you, and then after that even you can kind of choose where on a person you can be like, all right, I'm going to shoot him in the hand, and then the face, if you want to do that sort of thing. But yeah, it's so cool. And then kind of deciding how you're going to act, because if you want to be crazy and shoot everybody in every town, then the law is going to come after you, and you'll get a higher bounty, and then bounty hunters will be basically trailing you when you're kind of out free roaming, and that can be really annoying. And it's basically just how you want to play the game. If you want to play the game as an outlaw, you totally can, but then Johnny Law is going to be after you all the time. So unless you're going to pay off that bounty over at the post office, then you're going to have that issue going for you. But I've kind of been playing it a little more lawful. It's interesting because, greeting people, you can either diffuse situations or antagonize for a lot of things that pop up. But I've been trying to be as nice as possible. And you do have an honor system. I don't really know what the full endgame ramifications will be for such a thing. and that meter will pop up every once in a while. So for example, if you come across a dead civilian and some people have just stuck them up, if you kill those bandits and then you loot the bandits, nothing bad happens. But if you loot the dead civilians, it might say like a little red little hat figure will pop up on the right side. It'll be like, oh no, you've done something wrong, you're a bad person. It's like, okay, that's unfortunate. Also, on top of that, many times after these gunfights, regardless if you have been set upon or if you are setting upon someone else, someone will stop by or a witness will happen and they'll just take off. Like this witness will just appear out of nowhere, it seems like, and then they're like, oh my gosh, you've been doing a bad thing, and they'll just run off and you're like, oh no. And then if they get away, if you don't find them and either kill them or threaten them, they'll go and tell, the law enforcement, and your bounty will go up, and then you'll have bounty hunters after you. So my recommendation is, if you're gonna go around and do that sort of thing, make sure that you are quick about it. And if you're gonna loot bodies, which I typically do a lot, even if I wasn't the one who killed them, it's just for money, for other items, or just for bullets. You got to be quick about it, because if you're not, they will be on you, and it's like, oh no, I didn't do this, I just found these people. But to that person who just showed up on a horse, it looks like you're the bad guy. So keep that in mind. I'm trying to think about what else I could say about this game. I think it's really good. I'm talking about all this stuff as I get easily distracted with this game. I think that's one of the biggest things I could talk about. It's so engrossing, so immersive, that you kind of just hop in and do one thing. And it's that open world mentality of like, I'll just do one thing, but then that one thing becomes 20 things. And there's nothing wrong with that inherently. It's just that sometimes you're like, I just want to do this mission, but then you see this thing and you're like, well, I should go over and do this. I should go trade with the trapper. I should do some hunting, or I should go upgrade my guns, or I got to go back to camp and take care of all that, which is definitely a new aspect to the game. Is that you have a camp to take care of, and you kind of seem to be the breadwinner. It's kind of weird. Susan, I'm looking at you in camp, because this lady who just donates a bat wing for 15 cents. Anyway, you're kind of tasked with not only bringing money to the camp, but other supplies, and taking that money and deciding what to do with it. So do you upgrade your ammunitions? Do you upgrade your, medical supplies? All this stuff. Do you upgrade Dutch's tent? Do you upgrade to get fast travel from your camp to other places? These are decisions you have to make and help raise the morale of your camp, which helps get you honor, I believe, amongst other things. And then you can kind of go around and be like, hey, we've got better munitions now. So you can just walk over and just grab some cartridges for yourself. And you can restock those for a price, but kind of makes your camp look nicer and nicer, so you're not just a bunch of vagabonds. And it's fun. It's cool. I also really enjoy the fact that I'm starting to get to know a lot of these gang members pretty well, because in a lot of RPGs that I've played, especially more Eastern RPGs or JRPGs, you kind of start off with one character and you have their best friend, or you start off with a princess or somebody who joins the party, but you slowly build up a team. This one, you start off with 6 or 7 people of main characters who are in the gang with their families as well, and then you keep adding other people on, and you start to see the relationships between them. You get to see them interact at camp, you get to interact with them, tell stories, go on missions with them, optional missions a lot of the time too, and you kind of pick your favorites. Hosea being one of my favorites, this kind of older guy who's more of a grifter, and it's kind of cool to see how these gang members fill out these roles in these various plots that they have for all these people that they just see as marks, and yeah, it's really cool. I really enjoy it. So, overall, I think it's really good. I think it's a step up in a lot of ways from everything else they've done before. This is the first time I've ever really felt really immersed in one of their worlds for Rockstar, so I think that is just incredible, and I love spending time in this world. It's hard because I want to play these other games. I still have to finish Dragon Quest XI and Assassin's Creed Odyssey, but I still just find myself craving Red Dead Redemption 2. It's just such a good game. You do have to get used to some of the realistic stuff, so if you have guns on your horse and you didn't take those off of them before you left to get in a gunfight or whatever, then you won't have those guns on you. It's whatever you have on you, that's what it is. So I kind of like that, as opposed to just kind of pulling guns out of nowhere. So it's cool, and I just can't wait for the online. I can't wait to play this game with my buddies, because I've been playing with Joe and Drew, and we just talk online, and we just say oh, I did this, I did that, and oh, you did this, I did this, and it's really cool, and I'm excited to see where this game goes. and just for the future of this title. And like I said before, the online, I just cannot wait to get into it. So it's going to be a while before a full review comes out on this. I do want to wait and review the online because this is a whole full package thing. But right now, I have to recommend it. It is very good. I would say right now it's in one of the highest tier categories I could rate a game. It's hard to find a lot of flaws with it. There are some things that I'm not a huge fan of. Some things get a little tedious, and some, open world glitches, which you would expect. But besides that, it is very engrossing. Characters are great, story's good, combat's pretty good, the gunplay, I do enjoy it. And I just can't wait to play more of it. So I hope that gives you some idea of my crazy ramblings. You can kind of divine what I'm going after there. So I hope you guys, are enjoying it too if you're playing it. And if not, let me know if you have any specific questions. I can be found. I'll be in the comments here all the time. But if you just want to tweet at me, I'm at JimmyGood013. And that is the best way to reach me if you have anything pressing you want to know, because I'm happy to answer anything, because that is why I am here. And guess what? I'm representing a place. Yes, we're representing Critical Reviews. So if you want to support us, consider liking this video. You can subscribe to the channel if you enjoy other review and progresses, or our full reviews, or our podcasts, or anything like that, for free. Or if you want to donate to us, consider donating over at patreon.com/Critical Reviews. That helps a ton. Or if you want to buy a shirt, go check out our Spreadshirt. Look at our supports at Twitch. You can do that too. So yeah, I hope you guys appreciate this. Thank you guys so much for understanding about all of these crazy long RPGs I'm trying to review. I plan on getting most of them done, before the end of the year, so we can have a really true good Game of the Year discussion. But yeah, I hope you guys are enjoying Red Dead Redemption 2. And until next time, just remember to adapt and overcome.